Hello everybody, this is Havoc with my Queen and the Crone DLC review for Total War Warhammer 2. This review will focus solely on the DLC and its details, not any of the free DLC, which everyone will have access to once it's released. The Queen and the Crone brings two new legendary lords to the Warhammer 2 world, for both the Vortex campaign as well as Mortal Empires. Queen Alarielle of the High Elves and her rival Crone Hellebron of the Dark Elves. Alarielle begins in North Ulthuan with access to two unique units, the Sisters of Avalorn, which are archers capable of firing magical flaming arrows to tear apart their enemies, and the Shadow Warriors, another ranged unit that can remain hidden for most of the battle, firing in any direction while on the move. She brings the Defender of Ulthuan mechanic into the Warhammer world, where only under united High Elf Ulthuan will the people truly trust her, meaning that all provinces of Ulthuan must be under High Elf rule to receive positive buffs to her own regions. Alarielle also brings with her a new unique hero, the Handmaiden, an archer hero that can be leveled up to increase trade, influence, and bolster resilience in battle. Crone Hellebron starts east of Nagaron with access to two unique Dark Elf units, the Sisters of Slaughter, a whip infantry that causes fear with their poisonous melee attacks, and Doomfire Warlocks, an elite, fast-moving cav unit that can cast two bound spells of Soul Blight and Lesser Doombolt. Hellebron has the Death Knight mechanic, where upon holding a certain number of slaves, she can trigger a literal Knight of Death, slaughtering thousands of slaves and revitalizing her powers, and bringing about the Blood Voyage in the next turn, an allied ship that causes havoc, giving Hellebron a piece of any post-battle rewards. Her unique hero is the Supreme Sorceress, which can be recruited under various lores of magic to provide unique spells and bonuses to battles. Alongside their unique units and heroes, there are also 16 elite regiments of renown to access, 8 for each faction, such as the Keepers of the Flame, a Phoenix Guard unit that can cause its enemies to burst into flames when they die, which kills nearby units, and the Raven Heralds, Dark Riders that are mounted on Dark Pegasi, quite the sight to behold. Having played both factions to around turns 60 to 70 in the Vortex campaign, and around turns 30 to 40 in Mortal Empires, I can confidently say that both factions bring a great breath of fresh air to both campaigns. As Alarielle, you'll spend a majority of your early game building alliances with your High Elves, while finding ways to secure the entirety of Ulthuan to bring up your Defender of Ulthuan mechanic. Her ability to bring about public order buffs helps secure provinces quicker, allowing you to move on to the next enemy region sooner to bring about a unified Ulthuan. My only real concern with Alarielle in the Vortex campaign is that there are only 2 sources of Waystone resource sites in Ulthuan on polar ends of the island, and as I captured only one of those sites while securing the island, I was only able to reach my first ritual as most of the other factions were closing in on their second. This means that I'm pretty much guaranteed to never catch up, and it gave me a little lack of motivation to keep on playing. That being said, I very much enjoyed playing as Alarielle on the battlefield. Being a ranged, heavy guy, High Elves appeal to me as it is. Throw in the Sisters of Avalorn with their magic range attack, and the Shadow Warriors with their range, stalk, and firing while moving abilities, and you have a very kite-effective army that could potentially rival the Wood Elves. Alarielle's life affinity magic is designed to keep your front lines alive with various buffs that keep your hit points and health regenerating. Crone Hellebron plays a bit differently, but still adds a nice flair to the campaign. She doesn't need to focus on securing specific areas of land. All she truly needs to worry about is balancing slaves to both trigger the Death Knight and generate income. The Death Knight is an excellent mechanic that provides some great buffs to your empire and is a driving force for expansion and conquest, where those bigger battles can help generate a lot of slaves. Hellebron starts against a bit more of a difficult foe than Alarielle, and I found myself torn on where to expand once I defeated Grond, as I didn't want to try and take on Nagaron to my west, which left me only taking a minor High Elf faction and dealing with the Northkin factions. As with Alarielle, I found only one thing concerning in my campaign, in that my allied Blood Voyage faction that spawned after the Death Knight would rarely ever join in a war with me, either as a defensive or offensive matter. This put a bit of a dampener on my campaign, and it broke a bit of immersion with me, considering that this allied ship came from Harganeth. These were literally my own people, with an insatiable desire to kill anyone after the Death Knight, and they were rarely willing to join me in a war regardless of the motive. On the battlefield, Hellebron is a complete monster, capable of shredding units apart once she gains the upper hand. Check out Milk and Cookie's video on it if you want to see more about it. This doesn't seem like a bug, it is more of a balancing issue, and while it may stick to the lore pretty solidly, it does need reworked to make sure that Hellebron isn't stupidly OP in both campaign and multiplayer. Hellebron aside, having access to a more solid line of infantry and cav is a nice change from Malarial's ranged heavy focus. Having your front lines hold much longer gives you the opportunity to flank and be flanked, providing its own challenges and strategies, at least for me as a person who didn't spend a whole lot of time playing the Dark Elves in the initial release. One final aspect to mention before I conclude, and that's the Sword of KHAINE and KHAINE in general. Pleasing KHAINE is the focus of Hellebron in your campaign, and two major quests are tied to taking certain cities and receiving KHAINE's reward. The Sword of KHAINE is a weapon of absolute immense power if your lord obtains it, bringing massive AP and area of effect damage. However, I found in my playthroughs, and yes, I played through Alarielle multiple times to get the hang of it, I never had the chance to obtain the sword, despite taking the settlement as Alarielle where the Temple of KHAINE could be built. That was a bit disappointing. Some other faction just always have the sword. And as I mentioned earlier, I only got around turn 60 to 70 with Alarielle in my longest campaign, so it is possible that had I played longer, somehow I would have either ran across it with an army or it would be returned to the settlement. While not a game breaker for me, it still would have been cool to actually see its use in my campaign. Overall, and despite my concerns with both of the campaigns, I really believe that the Queen and the Crone DLC is worth a buy if you're a Total War Warhammer fan. For just $7, you get a significant amount of new content. You get 2 new legendary lords, you get their mechanics, you get 2 unique units, and over a dozen regiments of renown. Both Alarielle and Hellebron shake up the campaign enough to be refreshing, and I can imagine that they'll shake up the multiplayer world a bit too. For everything that you get in this DLC, and again, not even including the free DLC, I definitely think this is worth the buy. That's it for my review on the Queen and the Crone DLC for Warhammer 2. Let me know your thoughts on the DLC in the comment section down below. Be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on to stay up to date with the channel. If you're on the fence about the DLC or think that $7 is just a bit much, consider the Games Planet link in the description, where you can receive 15% off or 19% off if you use this code as well. Both of these discounts are applied until May 31st. Oh, and by the way, if you do decide to do that, I get a little piece of the pie. Just a bit of an incentive. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Havoc, and I'm out of here.